want to call the June 22nd East Greenbush Central School District Board of Education meeting to order. Need my glasses. Attendance this evening, we have Ms. Kennedy, myself, Ms. O'Brien, Ms. Curtin, Ms. Taylor, and Mr. Yaboa. Ms. Komersky, Mr. Mann, and Mr. Dunn are unavailable this evening. With that, could you please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance?
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. So I ran into Orion at the parking lot when he was leading the Honor Society, National Honor Society. So he said he will not be here, nor will Emma. So we will move to the draft minutes. Board members not present. Mr. Yaboa was not here. Any questions or comments? Revisions to minutes? Seeing none, I need a motion to approve those. Kathleen, I need a second. Joanne, all those in favor? All those abstaining? Approved. Next item is the board forum. Cheryl, anything? Good. Jennifer?
No.
Kathleen? Joanne? And Frank, this is your last meeting. Chance to say something.
Just thank you to the community, all of you, the leadership of Mr. Simmons. Mike, your leadership has been exceptional. It's been wonderful working with all of you. I'm definitely going to be back, that I do know, and I thank you for the opportunity to serve. Thank you.
Thank you, Frank. We appreciate your service and hope to see you in the future as well. So thank you again. Just one thing, I'm excited to be part of the graduation on Saturday. I know Jen's going to be there with her daughter, and myself, my daughter, and being part of the welcome, it's going to be awesome. So we're looking forward to Saturday. It's a special occasion for our family. So we'll go from there. Moving to the public forum. Residents, students, employees, and business representatives of the East Greenbush Central School District may address the board on matters concerning programs and/or operations of the district, other than matters involving personnel. Members of the board do not directly respond to citizen concerns during the public forum. If a response is appropriate, either the president or superintendent will contact the individual in the near future. Those persons wishing to address the board will be recognized by the chair of the meeting and should state for the record their name and address or affiliation with the district or business. While the board does not wish to infringe upon free speech protections, it must be stressed that the visitors forum is not deemed to be an open forum. The board president will conduct the forum for the orderly and efficient operation of board business. In addition, any remarks which be considered defamatory or stigmatizing or braided will be declared out of order. All comments shall be limited to 5 minutes. Is there anyone who'd like to address the board this time? Don't see anyone here from the public, so we'll move on to the next session. We'll move on to the reports and presentations of the superintendent. Jeff.
Thank you, Mr. Greeno, and thank you everyone for participating in our last Board of Education meeting of the school year. Mr. McHugh, our Assistant Superintendent for Curriculum Instruction, oversees the Committee for Curriculum Studies, and he's done an exceptional job over the course of the last 5 years in overseeing that committee and working with our department chairs and other teacher leaders to continue to review and evaluate our programs. It's a great process that we have in place. This year, there were 3 program reviews that were conducted. One of those was the alternate education program review. And Mr. McHugh is going to provide an overview of that program review report. And we have Brian Marsh here, who is a coordinator of that program, CAP program, who can answer any questions or address any topics that Brian would like to address. So I'll turn it over to Mr. McHugh.
Thank you, Mr. Simons, and thank you to Mr. Marsh for his tremendous leadership of our alternate ed program. So this specific program for alternate education, it is kind of near and dear to me because it definitely correlates with our high graduation rate in East Greenbush Central School District. Without our alternate ed program, our graduation rate would definitely not be as high as it is, and it's an absolute pleasure every year to attend some of those graduations and see these students complete their high school career under the support of our alternate ed faculty and staff. So The alternate ed program review was presented to CCS for their endorsement. The subcommittee for the alternate ed program included 17 faculty members and 3 of our building administrators representing both Gogh Middle School and Columbia High School. I highlight some of the noteworthy accomplishments and goals. I'm going to give you a quick sampling of some of those goals. So over the last 5 years within our alternate ed program, we have a 90% passing rate on the New York State regions for our students that are involved in our alt ed program. We have tremendous teacher and staff participation in professional development, and we see an increase in technology, we've seen an increase in our teaching assistant support. So if you remember historically, there was a reduction in our teaching assistant support at one point. There was a 0.5 that we lost, and that was restored. So that is really important, especially in light of our efforts to support the whole child and support our students socially, academically, and emotionally. So with that increase in teaching assistant support, that was something that was really needed, and it is put to very good use. We've seen tremendous update in our technology under Mr. Goodwin's leadership. We have the ViewSonic boards in our classrooms, and it has enhanced both the teaching and learning process. Our alternate ed program, what we want to see is happening. We see that our alternate ed programs have adjusted and changed over the last 5 years, and that's really driven by students' needs and what our students need. So, an important thing to point out is our CAP graduates receive a New York State Regents diploma. So if you go back again, historically, there were different diplomas that could be earned upon graduation. It is a requirement that all students receive a New York State Regents diploma. So our CAP and alternate ed students are doing that. Our MAP program has transitioned into CAP program seamlessly. So our middle school to high school transition, it's more proactive than reactive. So we are making sure that those students are getting that support. It's going to go all the way down to grade 6. So we're not waiting for kids to present as struggling and having challenges. We're putting those supports in place right away from the start. So, we expanded the size and scope of our 9th grade at-risk program with the creation of a full freshman cohort. The freshmen are now enrolled at the end of their 8th grade in an attempt to, support students again through that transition. So we're not waiting to identify students. They're being identified coming right out of the middle school. Columbia High School has sponsored multiple job and college fairs for our CAP students to pursue their interests in their post-graduation lives. We have our CAP students, we get them up on that campus at Hudson Valley Community College during their senior year. Many of our CAP graduates have gone on to pursue their interests at local community colleges, 4-year colleges, and also right into the workforce. So the efforts to really expose our students and get them to really understand what options are out there. So that has paid dividends for us as well. Our CAP and MAP students complete hundreds of hours of service learning. So they're out in our community. They're, volunteering throughout our community service projects. To be clear, those service learning projects are part of the self-leadership, Social Studies 12 and MAP curriculum. So it's a requirement. It's not an option for our students to do those service learning. Our CAP program and Andrea Neiman, with her support, one of our art teachers, they've continued and 2 exceptional equine programs with students. So those are kind of highlights that have occurred over the 5 years. It's amazing what's been done, even in light of, the challenges associated with the COVID pandemic. Some of the goals over the next 5 years, and really what was a strength in this program review, are that these goals are reasonable and they're targeted. So we want to reestablish the Alternate Ed Conference that, initially was sponsored by Columbia High School. It was planned and led by our CAP and MAP faculty and staff. That occurred, and there was tremendous participation from other districts. So I feel like our district led the way in that initiative. So we want to reestablish it and get that going once again. We want to create a program of study and curriculum for the self-leadership course, and that can be addressed through summer curriculum writing. So now that the program review is completed, we've identified that as a priority, and that takes a priority when we review our curriculum writing proposals. We want to purchase a self-leadership textbook to direct instruction and meet the needs of a credit-bearing course. That also is done through the CC Committee for Curriculum Study. The textbook proposal forms are distributed in September. They're due back in November. It's important that those things are done early on so that they become part of the budget planning process. So that's another achievable goal. We want to establish or replicate the equine program with students from the MAP program. So we have it at the high school for our CAP students. We want to bring it back down into the middle school as well. We want to reestablish the Columbia High School Career and College Fair. And we want to continue to build class sets of 7 through 12 English literary material for CAP and MAP use only. So it's really targeted and specific for students that are enrolled in both of those programs. So if Mr. Marsh has anything else that he would like to add, or anything that I may have missed, feel free, Brian. I'm not sure if you have anything you want to add.
Well, first, I just want to say I'm super grateful that this community has supported this program in different iterations over the last 25 years, from a night school to where it is today, as this kind of a school within a school. Super proud. This Saturday, I'll be able to see at least 12 more graduates graduate that have been able to get through the pandemic amongst a million other issues along the way. But it happens because everyone's so supportive, from the top down. I feel like we have a ton of buy-in from our staff here, from our parents here, from our administration, so we're super blessed. It doesn't happen without, the whole team working together. But, and I'm really excited to see the teachers' aid position grow. I think that's an incredibly important role that maybe was underserved previously just due to budgetary constraints, but we've been able to get those kids to graduate probably because of that. And I'm super blessed to work with the staff that I work with on a daily basis. It's the right staff. I know they're handpicked oftentimes by administrators because they're able to handle that. And I would offer maybe somewhere down the road, maybe an invitation to come for the board to come see the program in action. It's been a little while. Obviously, with all the things that have gone on in the last few years, it's been a little bit difficult to come in and check it out. But I'd like to extend that invitation. I'm super proud of what we've accomplished, and I would like you just to have a conversation with some of the students that we've graduated. I think they're our greatest product, and they're probably our greatest spokesman as well. So thank you. We appreciate it, and good luck, Mr. McHugh. Congratulations.
Any questions or comments?
Yeah, a couple questions, Brian.
Sure.
So do students have the ability to transition out of the CAP program, and do you follow your graduates after Columbia to just kind of get a sense of where they're headed and what they're doing?
Yeah, nothing formal.
Checking in.
Yeah, nothing formally. These are the type of students that over the course of 4 years, you build pretty strong relationships with.
Sure.
So we don't have a formal way to do that. Maybe something to look at down the road.
Okay.
I certainly know where a lot of my students have been over the past 10 years, and most of them are doing well. They're
Good.
living the lives they want to live, and that's all you can ask. And I had a conversation with someone earlier today about a student who's doing really well with his life, and he's paying bills and doing work he wants to do. And we have some students this year that are going to 4-year student colleges, universities, and we have some kids going to technical schools. We have some kids that are joining the workforce directly. So, that was something that after seeing it done on TV the other day, I actually saw a school that did like a signing day for kids that are entering the workforce. And I feel like that's something I could have added to this if I had thought about it. I wish I was on that. But it'd be something down the road. We have some kids that are entering a career right out of high school. They're doing relatively well as well. But in terms of following them if they transition out within the school, yeah, we do. They build relationships with us and our guidance counselors. Oftentimes the guidance counselor will stay the same. Sometimes it'll change. But for the most part, the administrator will follow up with me, and I'll follow up with the kid personally, or they'll follow up with me, the actual student will. So we keep pretty good tabs on them.
Yeah.
And they know the door's always open.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you,
Joanne?
Ryan.
Yep, Joanne.
Just a quick question. Thank you for doing what you do for these kids. These are the kids a lot of people have given up on, and thank you for not giving up on those kids. Just a quick question. Social work and guidance counselor, do you have one dedicated solely to your program, or are they also doing other?
At the high school, we don't. At the middle school right now, we do. which is great. We do have a social worker, Audrey DeBacco, works with us exclusively. She comes into our self-leadership class at least once a week. And she's a dynamo, but she always finds a way to alleviate anything that we have going on. And she's available to us, but she's not dedicated to us. We have 3 social workers, 3, and we take advantage of their services whenever she's available. But we're blessed to have that.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. Thanks, Jim. Next.
Next, we have Peter Goodwin, who's our Director of Technology, and Peter has been working with his department, with the Technology Committee and the administrative team to develop our next 3-year technology plan, which is required to be submitted to New York State Education Department, I believe around July 1st. And as you know, Peter has really worked with our staff to advance the technology within our district during his tenure here. And so before I forget, I want to thank Peter for his leadership in this area. And we really have come a long way. And I think you'll see some evidence that in his presentation of our tech plan. Peter.
Thank you very much, Mr. Simons. I want to thank the board and everyone else that's here for giving me the opportunity to discuss our tech plan. When we started writing our original tech plan 4 years ago, we were excited because we knew we were at a point where we were going to be able to put a lot of really impactful tools in the hands of our very talented faculty and staff. And every 4 years, New York State Department of Education requires us to do an updated plan. So this is our second 4-year plan to come from the 2022 to 2025. And I just have a few highlights from the plan. The plan, there's a copy of it with your packets tonight. Just a few things to try to give you the essential focus of the plan. We had to write a minimum of 4 SMART goals. We wrote 7. I worked with the Technology Committee, a subcommittee of the Technology Committee specifically focused on this. And I'll talk a little bit about how the plan comes about in just a minute. These SMART goals, the thing to notice, are aligned with both the East Greenbush School District scorecard, something that comes from you. And I'll show you also within the plan how the goals are also aligned with the New York State statewide learning technology plan that New York State puts out for school districts to guide us in writing our own technology plans. Okay, so first about the state plan, things that they highlight are developing a strategic vision and goals to support student achievement. I think that's probably the first thing we talk about in our scorecard. Provide technology enhanced, culturally and linguistically responsive learning environments. You'll see that the SMART goals really connect to that. Increase equitable access to high quality digital resources. You'll see that in particular our second SMART goal addresses that. And provide access to relevant and rigorous professional development. During the points that I make this evening, I'll be mentioning the importance, I'm sure you know about it already, of professional development and how we're trying to improve what we're doing and what we're making available to our faculty and staff. Okay, so items from the East Greenbush scorecard that we've highlighted are support and maintain a safe and engaging school educational experience through diversity, equity, and inclusion. Effective and efficient delivery of human and fiscal resources, ensure progressive, innovative, and inclusive pathways to all students through academic and trade excellence within our school, and positive relationships and partnerships with community and families. So you'll see all of those right out of the scorecard in these SMART goals. Just a little bit about how the plan develops. It's not something that we just write. We start in September and October when committees like the Committee for Curriculum Studies starts meeting, the Professional Development Committee meets, the Technology Committee meets. We have folks from our staff that sit on each of these committees, the Education Committee, and we gather input all year long, every month when they meet. Those are vital information flows to the technology and directly affect what we write about in our plans. roundabout, this year it was a little different, roundabout February. The state ed indicated that they would like us to put our plan on the state portal. Like most programs that we have, there's a portal for everything. And what they were going to do that was different this year is they've trained some folks at NERIC, who are a regional information center, on how to screen the plans that are coming in from districts. So they were very highly educated and connected to the statewide plan, these 4 experts. And so our draft of the plan went first to them. And we went through an edit cycle for about a month or 2. They would find something they wanted us to address. We would make the changes and submit it back in the portal. So we went through that period of time that lasted into May. Sometime in June, or actually the end of May, we got an indication that we had passed the editing phase with NERIC. And in June, they're going to be passing on our plan to state ed, for state ed to look at too. And that's highlights of that plan that I'm going to talk about in a minute. And then, it's lather, rinse, repeat. We're going to repeat this cycle. The cycle will continue for all 4 years of the plan, and then come in 2026 together, we'll write another plan. Okay, the first one, SMART Goal 1, you'll notice on the pages that you have, I've kind of condensed it so that I could display it effectively for you. But you'll see the East Greenbush objective right out of the scorecard on the left margin, and on the bottom you'll see the aligning New York State education plan goal right there. So our first SMART goal is by the end of the 2022-2023 academic year, 95 to 100% of students K-8 will have completed 3 reading and math assessments using a computer-based universal screening system. We all know that that's Renaissance Start. We've began that this year. It's been very, very successful and has immediately provided us with excellent data. Super important for us timing-wise, kids coming back from COVID. This was really useful information. And more importantly, information that we can gather and act upon in a nimble fashion. So when Mr. McHugh decided, big thanks to Mr. McHugh, he decided to do this and committed to this, it made all the difference in the world. We really, really have been fortunate to have this happen, and with the help of Lisa Mahar in the role of a teacher on special assignment. She's been functioning as our RTI coordinator. So that was the first of the SMART goal: review the completion status of each student by the RTI coordinator and principals. School-based data team meetings to discuss the assessment results and determine appropriate supports, and principal observations of the student and teachers' use of the technology. Okay, second SMART goal. And this is, you can't help but walk in one of our buildings and not see this going on. But basically, we needed to refresh our learning environments. So we wanted to align every learning environment to make sure everybody had equity in the equipment that they were using. So first stop on that was to make sure that everybody had a Chromebook. We're in the middle of refreshing that. We were fortunate enough, and thank you to Ms. Wager for helping us use some of the federal money that came in from ESSER and ARP. And we were able to use some of that to do pretty much a complete refresh of our Chromebooks. And that will get us another 3 to 4 years. We also did away with our projectors. We're out of the projector business. Every classroom has a flat panel. No more changing bulbs or cleaning filters. So we have that in a variety of fashions. We have it mounted. We have them on carts for flexibility. And over the summer, the project will continue. We were able to accomplish that in a fashion using second shift contractors. And our goal was not to disturb what was going on in the classroom, but to get the tools in front of them as quickly as we could. And we pretty much have accomplished that, but we've got more to do. Every teacher station computer located in each instructional space will be replaced with a Windows 11 compatible desktop computer. This is an important step for security, but also we don't want our teachers to be using computers that take 10 minutes to start up. And we do have some really old ones like that. It's time. A Windows 11 device is safer. It has a special security chip in it, and will give us the latest and the greatest. We'll work with the technology that we're putting in the classrooms right now. And yes, everyone will have a DVD player, so they'll be able to bring forward any of the content that they have that's on a DVD. So that is the second SMART goal. Third SMART goal, I'm really actually excited about. I want to make a special shout out to all of the E&L teachers, but especially Kelly Aldinger, who worked with us to try to guide us into writing this in a way that would be the most impactful for us. And just to sort of paraphrase what this goal says is, first, we need to recognize the fact that all teachers may be a teacher of an ELL student, not just the ELL teachers, okay? Because the ELL teachers will push in or pull out the students for a portion of the day, but not the entire day. And so therefore, everyone has to be aware of what effective tools are and methods are to teach children who are ELL. Now, some of the platforms that we make available have modules within them that support ELL. Reading A to Z, Nearpod, BrainPop, and then others that you see on these lists are more universal, useful in any instructional setting. Platforms like Screencastify, Kami, Google Translate, Mayan, Edpuzzle, the Freckle Reading, Freckle Math. So all of those products are tools that an ELL teacher or a regular ed teacher or a special ed teacher can use with students. But as we thought about it, we realized that the way that we're doing professional development around this goal needed maybe some tweaking. Because usually what we do is we will offer a suite of professional development sessions on the days that we are our professional development days. But we will have a special session, maybe a speaker comes in for the ELL teachers, maybe it's a focus on one of these programs, but usually that means that the ELL teachers are in that one session. And most of the other teachers maybe not participating in that session. So we want to try to find a way to do it where all teachers could attend the training that ELL teachers will get. So one of the obvious ways to do that is with continuing to focus on our asynchronous professional development library, which we've done the last 2 years. We're going to be updating that again this summer. Ms. Aldinger has said in July, she's getting married in August, so I had to give her time off. She said in July she would participate on that committee, and I'm going to ask her to focus specifically on these platforms and developing PD that targets this particular SMART goal. So really exciting stuff. We also want to do a benchmark survey, find out what our teachers know about teaching an ELL student, and what they don't know and what they want to know. Okay, so that's what that goal is about, goal 3. SMART goal 4 is about maybe an acronym you've never heard before. MDM stands for Mobile Device Management. This goal was informed by conversations with Molly McGrath and with Kara Harrington through Molly McGrath. And Kara Harrington, I spent, I think, most of the year in meetings, and but she was able to talk with Molly, and Molly was able to transfer her thoughts to me too. So what does mobile device management have to do with MDM? Well, some students, if they have an IEP or a 504, they may require a device to assist them to meet their challenges. So normally that gets written into an IEP, and the device is provided in special education, by the PPS department. So we do that manually. And, Molly and I talked about it, and we said, we're very good, and we know we have a special ed department that's incredible, but we could do better. So we're just being transparent about it and saying, hey, we would like to automate this. If you do a mobile device management program, you can control and know what's where at any time. You can basically pre-license a device, then you give the device to the teacher or the student, and they install the software from that palette of applications that you make available. you can also do a better job of enforcing technical policy on the device. So we think this is a really good goal for us. We're going to go for this, and it's kind of connected to the next SMART goal 5, which is some input that I got both from Kara and from Molly. Hey, we really don't have an assistive tech program. So assistive tech is specific hardware and software that can help with difficulties students may have. And it goes beyond a Chromebook. It could be something like a pen reader, or it could be a Braille printer, or it could be maybe a remote control with big buttons, things like that. So there's a lot of assistive tech out there, but we don't even have a catalog of it. And we're not sure of the awareness level amongst our staff, just knowing what is available, what kind of device could my student use. If I see a need, I can look at the catalog and say, I wonder if this kind of a device would help that student. So it's kind of connected to goal 4 in that way. We could do it better. So we're going to go for that too. And we think that this will really help things. So we want to survey the field of practice, see what people are using, have that information in one place, and then identify needs, and then publish a catalog of available supports for that. And then goal 6, this one really came from Mr. Simons. He said to me, Peter, we've been talking about augmented reality for a long time, and we never really have done it, and he wanted us to explore it and to try a pilot. So we're working on that, and we've identified that our pilot would be grades 6 to 8. It would include math, science, CTE, health, and social studies departments. So we'll begin exploring that. I'm going to organize a pilot committee to work on that. We're going to use recommendations to identify a product to procure. And we want to make sure that in order to do the pilot, everybody has the necessary equipment for that pilot. So that's a really thank you to Mr. Simons for putting that forward for us. I appreciate the input. And the final goal, this is one that I'm really excited about. And I'll say to you, if you get a chance before you leave, you might want to step into the room right over there in the library, that door. I'll turn the light on and unlock it for you. That actually is our newly formed student help desk. So we started that this year. We had participation with about 9 students. One came, I guess maybe 10. And these kids were amazing. They came so eager to learn. They were able to take apart Chromebooks and fix them. They were able to service students coming in with questions, guide them. Huge help to us. And we had established 3 levels of mastery for them. One is entry-level technician. And an entry-level technician would be someone who just basically customer service skills, those soft skills, greeting someone when they come in, following up with an email, answering the phone, things like that. And then there's a level 1 technician, and that's where you basically can tell me every part that's in a computer. I can take the cover off of it, say, what's that? What does it do? What's this? What does it do? And you could do that to a mastery level. Entry level technician 2 basically is you can work autonomously, and you could take a computer apart, put it back together on your own. We were surprised to find some of them came in with those skills. So they were at level 2, and it is possible for some students to master level 2, but not really get there with entry level. So really the goal of the program is to broaden their vision of how one can make a living in IT. We did a visit to the Haas Advanced Manufacturing Center up at HVCC, which is phenomenal. We had a personalized tour with the students, and they began to see just how many different ways that they can succeed in IT. So I really think this kind of fits in nicely with develop, implement, and support programs for students pursuing goals dedicated to trade and industry positions. A lot of work out there in IT, a lot of different ways to make a living in IT. So I'm really proud of that. Our goal is to get it up to, by the end of next year, a cumulative total of 40 students having participated. And I think that's very realistic and achievable. And just a quick note about our Lighthouse Chromebook program. I project that will be sustainable into 2028 because we made the very wise decision together to use federal funds to purchase the Chromebooks in this round. But remember, we still have waiting in the wings those smart school funds that Mr. McHugh was able to get for us that never expire. So we can actually have another go round. And so we'll probably be good till around 2028, which is way better than I ever expected it would be. Okay, any questions? All right, well, thank you very much for this time.
I have a question, Peter. I always have questions. Right?
Yes.
Tremendous first comment, tremendous amount of work. Thank you to the team, the committee put this together. Very impressive amount of where we were. I think when I came on the board several years ago, part of the tech committee, and I wish I could make more of the meetings and participate in some of the activities, but and to where we are now, it's been just a, tremendous and prepared us really for what happened a couple years ago with the pandemic. The procurement for mobile devices typically was done through the special ed department before. Is that how it
Yes.
happened?
Yes, usually happens through, they have a special budget lines for that purpose.
So we're bringing them back online to go through.
Yeah, we're going to work together, but we're going to manage it better.
I don't doubt it. The other piece was the assistive technology. Are we seeing heavy use in assistive technology, Molly or Peter?
Oh yeah, this is, there's a big need for it, and it's been honestly a weakness that we've had. We haven't really had a focus on that. Usually how assistive technology gets into our district is there might be some service provider that has evaluated a student and made such a determination. Often it's someone from some of our partner agencies that might do that. And then they recommend in the CSE meetings that the device be written into the IEP. But otherwise, we really don't have what we feel is a satisfactory level of awareness amongst faculty over exactly what could be done.
Is there like a point person in the department, Molly, that kind of, no? Okay, so we need some support there. Okay. Good to know. The augmented reality pilot. So what is that going to be? Like virtual reality things? And
We're
I've
talking
seen all sorts of cool stuff from the metaverse now. So
Yeah,
is that what you're thinking of?
A fully immersed experience, goggles, specialized equipment.
Interesting.
Yes.
Okay.
There's a particular program that was demonstrated at the Council of School Superintendents Conference that I got excited about and was texting
Okay.
Peter, that's being implemented
it's
in some
great.
local districts, including Amsterdam, where students can explore, health, science topics, basically going into a heart and looking at how the heart functions, taking virtual field trips to places that they could never go in history, going back in history through virtual field trips. So there's a curriculum-based products out there that fit with the standards of New York State and align. And we thought middle school would be a good starting point because we're always looking for ways to engage our middle school kids. So we haven't necessarily selected a particular product yet. Peter and I set up a meeting, and Jim had a meeting with one of the companies that provides this kind of a tool. And we're going to look at some other options and bring it to the technology committee.
Great.
I mean, the biggest thing I could say really in town right now, there's something called the Van Gogh Experience.
Yeah.
Where
Yeah.
you're sort of immersed in the painting. This is like that, but with augmented reality.
We did have quite a bit of interest prior to the beginning of COVID with model schools. So
Yep.
model
Yep.
schools
Yep.
has the ability to bring it into the buildings, and they provide that professional development too. And that's a great way to grow it.
And lastly, the help desk. Do the students get any credit for anything like that?
Excellent question. Yes, they can.
Pre-service?
Most of the students this year, because when we started, it was just a little bit too late to register for additional credit. Most of them, we were shocked to find, and not only did they come during our free period, but they came back during their lunch hour. So they were doing 2 periods a day, and they simply were really impressive. We really, really enjoyed working with them and trying to help them learn about IT. They can register. There's a program from the business department. Is it CEIP, I think? And it's an internship program.
Good.
So it's one of the options that they could choose to do an internship right here in the school.
So next year, let's plan on maybe having some of the kids from the help desk come to a meeting and.
Oh, great idea.
That'd be great.
Okay.
All right.
Since if we're here, we're back in the boardroom someday.
Yep.
Otherwise, I prefer here.
Awesome.
Thank you, Peter. Anyone
You're
else?
welcome.
Kathleen?
I have a couple observations. Number one, thank you very much for this. Number three, with working with the ELL students, I think the observation that it needs to be everybody, not just the dedicated teachers, is spot on. I have two nieces who came here at a young age from Ukraine and were speaking Russian. So this is definitely something that would have been very helpful. They are now fully integrated as teenagers. The other one is I was at a conference today, a virtual conference on testing software. And I remember Mr. McHugh speaking about how we had a problem during COVID because of test integrity and, how are we going to do that? Is the technology department going to be looking at anything like that? The conference that I was at today, there was actually somebody from a large school district in Nevada, and they have used ExamSoft through the entire district, K-12. And the data that you can get from every single test, like immediately. So you could do one test for the whole district, fifth grade reading or whatever, and you can get district-wide data immediately. It's really interesting. I'll know more about it once we actually get it fully implemented and we start using it. But it was definitely something that I could, I'm listening from the college level and thinking back to this level too, as the guy's talking about his district. But
It's an excellent point. We actually have dipped our toes in and got our feet wet a little bit this year with Renaissance Star because that happens on Chromebooks and they do it 3 times a year. And the data is instantly available.
Well, the other thing that we loved about ExamSoft is it's not cloud-based, so that they have the test, you download it onto the device, and then the internet gets turned off. So you take out that technology piece in the middle of a test, like your computer doesn't freeze up because it's not, it's not using the internet. So
I will definitely take a look at that and let you know what I find. Just some thoughts along these lines. We have received some communication from state education that the 3 through 8 tests, for example, and some of the other tests are going to be CBT tests. One of the things that I try to worry about is making sure that using the computer is not a factor on the tests and doesn't affect scores as much as possible. So, for instance, this year we're providing Chromebooks to grade 2. Because they're going to start taking that test in grade 3. So they'll have a year of experience with the Chromebook. But some of the controls that come up on the screens too, I want to make sure they're real comfortable to how to access them, what they mean, what they do, how they can help them. So yes, that's especially
that was a big part of the conversations today.
Yeah, I would be
That the
especially attracted
technology
to
is
something
not,
like
that
that.
the
Yes.
technology doesn't interfere.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? No? Okay, thank you very
Anyone
much.
else? Thanks, Peter. Moving on our agenda, the discussion item. So this first item, I was talking to Mr. Simons and, being our last board meeting, we do a lot of business items and things like that. I would really wanted to hear from our staff, the principals, administrators, and others to just kind of give us a little bit briefly their reflection and celebration of the school year and just kind of some high points of your thoughts about how this year went and just give us some feel-good stories or some things that you really felt were impactful to you and to your buildings and your kids and staff. So I'll just throw it out there and you guys can come up to the microphone or use your principal voices, whatever you want to do.
So, first of all, I just want to thank the board for their continued support. A lot of the academic stuff that we put in place this year has really come to fruition as we're getting down the stretch here. We're working with students every day to get across that finish line. But these LRCs, the homework center, the tutoring after school, I think starting from the top of Mr. Simons and the Board of Education all the way down to our custodians, we did whatever we needed to do for the kids this school year. And it's hard for us to even imagine that at the beginning of the year we were wearing masks, and that now we had a National Honor Society event tonight. And I think the biggest change for us was when the mask came off and we got to meet kids. At one point, someone pointed out to me that we had not met half the students in the school and half the students in the school had never seen my face. So the day we came in without masks was really just an uplifting event. Kids were smiling, looking at each other. The teachers could smile. They could read body language. I couldn't tell you the number of teachers, the faculty meeting kept saying, I never knew if you really understood what I was saying. I always just saw those eyes staring back at me. And now I can see the facial expressions and I know whether or not I'm making connections. So those are the two biggest things, really just the fact that everyone pulled together to get through this school year, and then just the smiles and the faces of seeing the students again. And, I think that everyone here and everyone in this room, this is a calling for all of us. So to see that reward was really grateful. So that was one of the highlights for here at Columbia High School. So, and of course, Saturday at graduation will be nice as well.
Thanks, Mr.
I'll be
Harkin.
quick. Thanks, Mr. Harkin. Just a few highlights from the PPS office that I wanted to share, that we did a really great job this year supporting students and families' mental health returning from the pandemic. We were fortunate to work with Rensselaer County to add a satellite mental health clinic, both at Gogh and Columbia. So that was huge. And we added social work and counseling support, which our students and families really needed. And we added grade 8 at CTAP, which was really an effective program for that group.
Thanks, Molly.
Anyone?
I can, certainly say the same things that Mr. Harkin did regarding the students having the masks off and the ability for teachers to make connections with kids and kids make connections with each other. We did see a big difference in the socialization and the happiness overall in the building, that the whole culture changed when the mask came on. So that was really a positive thing. And we've really seen kids grow socially and emotionally over the last few months. So that's been a really positive thing for our middle school students. In addition to that, we were able to get back to some of the regular things that we have done historically at Gogh Middle School. And one of the most recent things that was a huge success, and one of the things we've talked about over the course of the last few years, is getting kids out for career exploration. And we had a very, very successful day with all of our 8th graders going to a field trip to Siena College for Career Jam. And all of our 8th grade students participated in it. All of them, some of them were moaning and groaning and couldn't really see the purpose in it. But then once they got back and really had an opportunity to see all of the opportunities that exist for them in different career paths, they were really, really excited about it. So it was really good to see their moods change and their opinions change about that experience. So that was a really positive thing. And we look forward to doing that again next year and getting kids out and exploring career fields, so that when they get to Columbia High School, they kind of have an idea about maybe some of the electives that they might want to take, and they get a little bit a head start on that. So that was really positive. In addition to that, Debrina Leva, who is our family consumer science teacher, has taken kids out on field trips to numerous businesses in the community. She took kids to Curtis Lumber, Gurley Precision, Marabita Energy Products, Martin Electric, HVC, and the list goes on. So we're continuing that goal of exposing kids to career fields outside of our typical core classes that we offer, but for them to be able to see that there are other pathways for them that they might not have typically known. So we're continuing that exposure. We were also able to take our 8th grade students on a field trip, which was really exciting. We had a lot of fun at Six Flags. We were able to have activity nights, one for each grade this year, 6, 7, 8. We haven't been able to do that over the course of the last few years. We had a huge fundraising event for Ukraine, Fill the Bus, which we filled 2 huge buses of stuff. So that was really positive. Today was our field day. Tyler Rose and our PE department did a phenomenal job putting that together. And again, having our kids be able to experience the things that our students were able to experience in the past. And that was a wonderful day and a wonderful event. We also had the mental health clinic that's been really helpful in the homework club, all the things that Mike Harkin talked about in terms of your support. We appreciate that, because our students really needed that extra support. The 3 days a week after school was filled every day. Our Jumpstart 6 program for our students who made that transition from elementary to middle school that program's been amazing. So again, thank you for all your support that you've given us this year at the middle school.
Thank you, Jill. And the elementary.
Mike, you hit the nail on the head though with the masks coming off.
Sure.
You know, we had students who had never been to school with a mask
Without
off. For our 1st grade students. So that day was really a monumental day, I'm sure, at all the elementary schools. It definitely was. And what a reaction we got from our faculty. He hit the nail on the head, to be able to read body language, especially for our earliest learners, when you're looking at developing readers, being able to see what they can do. That was definitely a big day for our school. But I think for us, and I think and it's been a common theme, it's kind of re-entering back into our traditions and re-engaging our community. And there were many events that we were able to host at our school, which really brought back those traditions. One of the highlights that was probably that was my favorite was our 4th and 5th grade concert. We've never been able to do a 4th and 5th grade concert together as a school, just because of the size of our facility and due to the restrictions with music. We came up with an idea as a music department. We held our 4th and 5th grade concert outside on the front steps of DPS. And those of you know the front of our building, it's beautiful. And to look out into a crowd, and our whole front area was filled with parents and grandparents and kids just listening to our students perform. And people brought lawn chairs and picnic baskets. It was really something I have never experienced here in our school district. So really re-emerging our community back. One of the other pieces, that our focus, social emotional learning. We focused our character ed, we re-engaged in our character ed assemblies, but we also took on a new challenge this year of doing one school, one book. We did 2 different books over the course of the year, really to focus on kindness, tolerance, inclusivity, and also trustworthiness. So those are a few highlights at DPS. Mr. Garib.
Thank you, Jake.
Thank you very much for this opportunity. Like the previous principals that spoke, definitely the highlight was the day the masks came off. To see those smiling little faces walk in the door, and also, quite frankly, to see some of our new staff members. We have a lot of new staff, to see what they actually look like. Because even through the whole interview process, they had masks on. So that was definitely the highlight. Another really big highlight of our year was our National Blue Ribbon School, the recognition, but really the celebration that night that many of you were at school. It was just so exciting, a lot of fun. We had food trucks, we had activities, and the real highlight was a professional fireworks display. And I really want to thank Mr. Simons and the Board of Education for really, you're just giving us 110% support with that. Linda, coming to all those planning meetings, your attention to detail, very much appreciated. And again, as has already been mentioned, just the return to normal. So many of those traditions that you see in an elementary school, the concert, as Mr. Alvey spoke about. Unfortunately, I missed it because I was in quarantine with COVID. But I heard it was quite well, and it went well. And I'm sorry to have missed it, but at least we got to have it. Our field day, our color run, opportunities for our students to give back to our community. We had a lot of fun drives, a lot of food drives to benefit different organizations. Our students showed a lot of growth. Thank you to the support of Mr. McHugh, Ms. Mahar, our new intervention specialists. And I'm just overall just genuinely so proud of our students, our faculty and staff for their flexibility and their perseverance, certainly during some very interesting and challenging times. But we certainly made, as they say, take lemons and make lemonade. So overall, it was a great year, and thank you very much for your support.
Thanks, Dan. Who's next? Oh.
Good afternoon or good evening, everyone. Very similar to what the other principal said, there was a lot of great to celebrate this year as we reflect upon, the coming or the close of the 22 or the 21-22 school year. One of the things that I think for me, also the mask coming off was, getting back to watching our kindergartners get to integrate with our 5th graders and having our book buddies back. That was huge, to have role models for our incoming kindergarten class and then watching them continue to thrive. And something that they look to on a weekly basis, getting to spend time with the upper grade levels and enjoying that time. The attention that they would get from the older kids was something that was truly cherished by our kindergartners. all the activities that we were able to plan this year was tremendous. We brought back a lot of things. As Mr. Yaboa was at one of our events, the 4th grade wax museum was a huge success. Probably one of the most well-attended inside events that we had this year, which was something that was a little bit, gave me heart palpitations as we see parents after parents after parents coming in, and our gym was packed. But I can share with the board that we received so many compliments from our school community about that. It was nice to be able to give that back and not have to do things, as one parent said to me, virtually, which was great. And I think as Mr. Alvey and Mr. Garib also kind of highlighted, reflecting back, one of the best things about it is that during COVID, the shutdown, the uncertainty as to what was coming back, and then when we came back in full force, it really reignited the relationships that I think we have with our school communities. Our school communities came back in full force to support our school district and to support our individual schools. And we were there to give it back 110% to them as well, because as we know, each of our school communities is unique, has its unique flavor that makes us great as a school district, and it all comes together at Gogh Middle School. And then when the kids get ready to leave us as Columbia graduates. So I think for all of us, I think we can all say that our school communities, I think, became stronger, and our district became stronger because we were able to persevere and to overcome all the adversity, or all the adversities that we had to make our school district better for our kids. And I think that's what really the focus should be. So thank you for this opportunity.
Thanks, Wayne.
They were going to save the best for last, but I'll go for you. Okay. Thank you for this opportunity, and I appreciate the support the board always gives us. So I want to give a nice big shout out to my staff. I couldn't be more proud of them this year, and the hurdles they overcame and their resilience. They were wonderful. And I've made a little list because I want you to think back and realize what it was like in the fall, September, October, November, and then even going through the phase where the spikes of COVID went up over the winter and the holidays. We have a monthly shared decision-making meeting at Columbia. It's very well attended. It's where all the great ideas come from, and I get a lot of different perspectives from the staff. And I'm going to read a list of things that we've done this year. And every single one of these, we asked ourselves, can we do that this year? Evening concerts. Some of this has been mentioned already. Yes, we did the band, orchestra, and chorus right here at Columbia. We couldn't do it for a couple of years. Field days. We held a field day on the district boat day. The whole school participated, and we had created 8 new fun stations for the students. Field trips. First grade went to the Skodak Town Park. Caught tadpoles. 3rd grade went to 5 Rivers. 2nd grade went to the Albany Airport. 4th grade went to Mabby Farms. The 5th grade went to the Education Day at the Joe. So all the grades got to experience something. Again, we were not sure if we could do this. The 5th grade orientation at Gogh. Thank you, Mrs. Barker, for bringing that back. That's a great thing that kids can experience. I'm proud of some of my teachers. I have a very gifted teacher that put on a magic show for the students, 4th grade teacher. We did a fun run in conjunction with our PTO and raised $21,000 because I said I'd get silly stringed, and it was a lot of fun. And I did, but I got them back. We had a superhero visit that came to the school dressed up as Batman and promoted character education and good citizenship. The students loved it. The 1st graders put on a school play again. The Belltop Book Club continued in its 8th year at Belltop, the One School, One Book. We read Where the Mountain Meets the Moon by Grace Lynn, with a culminating activity of a vocabulary parade that was just as big as a Halloween parade. It was great. Students loved it. Very highly attended by parents. We need more parking at Belltop. 5th grade just experienced their yearbooks and ice cream social, this yearbook signing. We had our moving up ceremony last Friday. It was very well attended. It was a very nice time. We brought back, after 3 years, the bell top bell ringer ceremony. We actually had a student that started kindergarten in 2002 that came back. That was yesterday. And he graduated from Columbia High School. Matter of fact, he told me and the students that he works right here in the library, David Kelly. Yeah. So he's now in our Bell Top Hall of Fame, Bell Ringer Hall of Fame. He did a very nice speech to the students. Today, Mr. Simon saw me in a t-shirt because we had a staff versus student kickball game. And that was part of our no screen week. I do it like twice a year. Of course, he sees me and I don't have a suit on.
It was a Zoom meeting.
Yeah.
So-
And our end of the year picnics were also today. They had a great time. And tomorrow, our first grade classes are doing an author visit and award ceremony. All these things, we were unsure in the fall and the winter. And to think about how much time and planning goes in to prepare for these. You need lead time for all this. They don't just happen in a couple days. I'm so proud of my staff and I appreciate them and you. Thank you.
Thank you,
Helen.
Marty.
Thank you, Mr. Mahar. Well, I won't take the risk of being repetitive, and I think I can say safely that a lot of the activities and great, wonderful events that I'm hearing that my colleagues had at their school, we also had at Red Mill School. And I guess, my takeaway from the 3 years of the pandemic and all the iterations of scheduling we've been through has been, we did not let a COVID pandemic hold us down in East Greenbush School District and nor at Red Mill School. I think if anything, it grew us a little bit stronger and a lot of bit wiser. I think we learned creative new ways to come together and be a community together. And, I'm really proud of some of the things that we've done at Red Mill. And I would just say that some of the things recently that have happened that have really stood out to me, I guess, that are different from some of the things that we've heard tonight is one thing I'm looking forward to next year is welcoming our English language learners to Red Mill School. And last week, we arranged to have some of the students from Janae School come over to Red Mill School with their families. And what was so really nice to see was they didn't just come with a mom or a dad. They came with the whole family. Their cousins and their brothers and sisters were there. And I took them for a tour through Red Mill School. And my staff was so excited to meet the families and meet the students. And we visited every little nook and cranny at Red Mill School. And even their ELL teacher from Janae came over to make that leap to a new school next year feel better for them. And when they left with a big red balloon because now they're Red Millers and they're really excited to come there. But I think the outreach that we do in this school community is just amazing. We always go the extra mile and family and community connections is what we're all about. So we've kept that going. The other thing that I would be remiss if I did not mention is our character education walk that just took place yesterday. It's hard to believe it was yesterday. I feel like I've been running a race for a whole week and going from event to event to event, as I'm sure all my colleagues have. But that was wonderful. And it kind of gave us the opportunity at Red Mill to show the charitable nature of our students and our families. We collected for the Mohawk Hudson Humane Society. That was what our student council chose because of course they're all animal lovers at Red Mill School. So we had buckets upon buckets of dog treats and cat treats and peanut butter and all kinds of goodies and cash donations that we'll be giving to the Mohawk Hudson Animal Shelter. But more importantly, 450 students strong, plus about 70 staff members yesterday morning at 9:30 left the Red Mill parking lot with East Greenbush Police Department escorting us and the Clinton Heights Fire Department escorting us. It was a safe walk. We were out in the community, out in the open, waving to our neighbors around that Hampton Manor Lake. And the parents were just smiling ear to ear as we walked through the neighborhoods, and the kids just enjoyed themselves walking as one community. So that was a real highlight of my year. And that's what I have to say. So thank you very much for all the support from the board and from Mr. Simons for allowing us to get back out there and get things back to normal.
Thank you, Ellen. Anyone else? Jeff, anything to add?
I just want to, when you were all when all these administrators were talking, my mind went back to March of 2020, when I called you all in for a meeting on a Sunday afternoon. And it's from that point on that you've never stopped. And I have to say that I believe that we have not only the most talented, most dedicated core group of leaders in any school system, probably in the country, but we have some of the kindest, nicest, and supportive people working for us. And I just want to thank you all, because you make my job so much easier, because not once since that Sunday when I called you in as we prepared to go remote, have you ever said, I don't think that's a good idea. I don't think we should do that. You always went immediately to, how do we do that? How can we do it together? How can we do it consistently? And how can we do it in the best way possible? Never once said no. Never once, was never once met with any skepticism. It was nothing but support. And to all of you, I greatly appreciate what you have done, not only to keep us open, but to make us better. And many of you identified that you have come to a conclusion that through all of this, we are better for it. And I so much appreciate that. I also want to say that we could not be as effective as an administrative team if it wasn't for the vision, the guidance, and the support of our Board of Education. Not once during this whole period of time did we have any real difficulties that some of these other districts experienced, in terms of, yes, we had concerns from parents during our hybrid model, and we were able to respond to those. Yes, we've had challenges and questions and trying to make sure that we were doing everything possible to continue to serve the community, but we did not have the kind of dynamics that some school districts have experienced since the spring of 2020. And that is a credit to our board. Our board is transparent, our board is open, our board is focused on the students and the children, and it works well. Our administrative team is completely committed to the students. The board is completely committed to the students. And again, I would just reiterate what you have all said, is that I think we are better than we were just a couple of years ago, and grateful for, I'm not grateful for the New York State Department of Health memos that came on Friday evenings at 5:30. I'm grateful for the experience. I really am. I thank everybody.
Thank you, Jeff.
And I thank you, Mr. Buono, for asking us to do this at this meeting. So,
Well, I think it was really a nice way to kind of wrap up the year, but also an opportunity to express and hear, so much we hear of the challenges and the difficulties, but also we don't get out to the schools as much as we always would want to. And I think that this sharing opportunity here is important. And I hope that in the coming year that as we have the new school year, we can be more active in the community and be present and participate in a lot of these things, and just sharing and hearing about those. I can see how much you enjoyed it, being a community again, and even a stronger community than you were before. So it's great to hear those things, and I'm glad we take that opportunity. And I thank you for sharing all that. So much appreciated. Any board member comments before we wrap up the next item? Jennifer?
I would just like to thank you all for kind of staying the course these past 2 years. I can only imagine all of the hoops you had to jump through and schedule changes. And I know absolutely it wasn't easy. As a parent in the district who talks to a lot of other parents, I can say that all of these efforts and all of the traditions we've brought back this year have been so appreciated, both on a personal level with my kids, but just across the board. I've heard so many people saying it's so great to go to a concert or go to a sporting event and see my kid play unmasked. So it has not gone unnoticed in the community. So thank you.
Thanks, Jennifer. Anyone else? No?
I don't want
Yeah,
to, so
go
I
ahead.
just want to say one more thing.
Sure.
The other thing that I think I always appreciated, but not to the level and the degree that I do now. But during this whole experience, I have realized that every single person that works for our district matters tremendously. From the administration to the teachers, to our support staff, our clerical employees, our school nurses, our food service people, our transportation department. Boy, what about our transportation department, what they've had to experience all year long, to the custodial maintenance staff, to the children, to the parents. Everybody matters. And the one thing that I think I appreciate at a deeper level is that the public schools matter. The public schools matter tremendously to their community. And maybe 3 or 4 years ago, as people were somewhat skeptical and critical of public schools, and I think we've shown that in many places, and particularly in East Greenbush, that the public schools are the heart of the community. And during the pandemic, we really showed that. But it was a matter of everybody in the community that works for us and everybody that we serve. Just everybody mattered, and it would be different if it was, if one person were not involved. It was just a super experience, obviously stressful. Everybody extended themselves beyond what they typically would ever be asked to do. People were doing things that we were never trained to do. Who would have imagined that we were doing health testing in the schools? Among a list of about 50 other things that we never ever thought we would be doing, but we did them, and we did them really well. And it's because everybody matters. Everybody.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you for letting me say that.
Yep, no problem. Yeah, of course. All right. If there's no other comments, we will move on to our next discussion item. So again, thank you for sharing. And we'll talk about, we'll shift gears right here, huh? Lucky you, Linda. The New York State reporting requirements for foundation aid and ARP.
Always shifting gears to a very interesting topic as well. But this year there is a new state reporting requirement for school districts who have received an increase in foundation aid of more than 10%. Our school was identified as one of those districts as we received $1.9 million increase in our foundation aid for next year, and that represents an 11% increase. So as part of the reporting, we are required to show how are we using that additional foundation aid, in what ways. They've provided us with some areas to talk about, including increasing graduation rates, eliminating the achievement gap, reducing class sizes, providing supports for students who are at risk, addressing student social emotional health, and providing adequate resources for ELL and special needs students. So I identified 4 of these areas where I thought our additional foundation aid has gone to. The first is increasing the graduation rates and eliminating the achievement gap. And so I noted there that our graduation rate increased with our class of 2021 to 98%. And so in order to maintain that and possibly increase it, we are purchasing additional Apex credit recovery units from Questar next year. We also revamped some of our curriculum with a focus on curriculum equivalence. So we looked at some of the more challenging courses and spread those out a little bit. We also are purchasing new textbooks to align with the standards. And we are purchasing the Renaissance Star Assessment Program for the K-8 level. So as part of this reporting requirement, we also have to show how did we involve the community in this. And I noted that our public relations specialist regularly posts stories on our website, and he also monitors the feedback on Facebook. We also have parent and community participation in our committee for curriculum study, as well as our education committee. Another area that I talked about was reducing our class sizes. And basically for next year, we decided as a district to try to keep our class sizes low so that we could ensure academic success for our students. We did this by next year adding an additional kindergarten section at one of the elementary buildings. And that's keeping all of our kindergarten classes below 20. And in grades 1 through 4, on average, the range is between 19 and 22 students. And at grade 5, we range between 23 and 24 students on average. So in order to involve the community on that, we reported an enrollment projection report to the board in February. And then we also procure CDRPC to do a district-wide projection each year for us. We presented that to our long-range planning committee as well as to the board. And the next one was providing adequate resources for our English language learners and students with disabilities. And I identified that we have 99 in the current year, 99 active ELL students. So in 22-23, we are identifying a second ELL cluster school in Red Mill, which was mentioned earlier tonight. And we will be hiring an additional teacher as well as a teaching assistant for that program. We also served 653 students with disabilities this year. And so we are looking to hire a CSE chairperson next year, an additional special ed teacher and teaching assistant for our life skills class, as well as a special education content coordinator for grades K through 5, as well as 6 through 8, and an elementary special education teacher. We presented on our ELL program. Mr. Grignon gave the board a presentation and the public presentation in December of 2021. And Ms. McGrath presented to the board and the public in February 16th, a presentation on our special ed program. And then most importantly, in the category of other, is that the district, the board recognized the impact that the pandemic has had on our district residents, our students, and our family, and felt that it was a priority this year to prepare a budget for 22-23 that maintains all of our current programs, adds services that are needed, additional services, all while recognizing the impact, the financial impact. And so we strive to have a 0% tax increase, which we did maintain that. Our budget process involves all of our stakeholders, including community, administrator, staff, parent-teacher organizations, as well as students. And we had a budget process that we began in December, and we had budget workshops that took place in March and April. The board adopted the budget in April, and we presented that throughout those months to the community. We had additional presentations to all of our staff groups, all of our buildings, our PTOs, and that was community feedback was represented by an 84.9% approval rate of our budget for next year. The second part of this reporting requirement is that we are required to report on how we are using our American Rescue Plans, how we've used them this year, how we intend to use them over the next couple of years. So there is a very detailed report attached, which I won't go into a lot of detail because a lot of the programs were already mentioned this evening as to how we're doing, how we're using some of those funds, increasing our LRC hours, increasing our after-school tutoring. We have social emotional health clinic, mental health clinics at both our high school and middle school. So there are a lot of things that we're doing that I'll be reporting on to SED in the business portal. This report is due by July 1st, and we will need to post it on our website. Are there any questions on that?
Thank you, Linda.
Thank
Very
you.
clear. And a lot of, it's important, we did a lot of this conversations earlier of the school year, and so it was good to see a little recap there. And the state will see how wisely we're spending our funds, right? If there's no other comments on that item, I'm going to move to the regular business. First item is the approval of programs for residents with disabilities. Any questions or comments? Need a motion to approve that? Cheryl, second. Joanne, all those in favor? Approved. Next one is the rubbish removal bid. Questions or comments? Question? Motion, Kathleen, second. Frank, all those in favor? Approved. We have a change order. Any explanation needed here? Just minor.
This is additional brick reconstruction work that's happening around the exits and entrances to Janae, the administrative side of the building. There was an area around the corner of the doorway on the side of the building closest to the fields that needed additional work. So board policy requires any change orders that exceed $35,000 to be approved by the board.
Okay, excellent. Questions or comments? Need a motion to approve that? Frank, second. Jennifer, all those in favor? Approved. And then the 21-22 risk assessment report. Any questions or comments on that? Seeing none, need a motion to approve that? Frank, second. Kathleen, all those in favor? Approved. With a small group, I'll be looking for some hands on these motions. All right, do we have any committee reports?
Not at this time.
Yes, no?
Not at this time.
Okay, and Linda? Not this. Okay. Music to my ears. Okay, table motions. I don't have anything. Old business, board members? Nothing? Next item is our consent agenda. Items A through I. Any questions or comments? Joanne?
I please have item G pulled for a separate vote,
Item G.
appendix C.
Oh, okay, extended season, yes. Okay, all those, a motion to approve consent agenda, all items except for item G. Frank, second. Kathleen, all those in favor? Approved. And then item G, need a motion to approve that. Jennifer, a second. Kathleen, all those in favor? All those abstaining? One, approved. All right, that concludes our consent agenda. Congratulations, Mr. Jones, on your appointment. We have no addendums, new business. Board members, anything? I do have one thing, NISBA. Have we heard anything about school boards conference convention in October? Okay, I know there's, I think, Syracuse, if I heard right. In person. Lovely Syracuse.
That would be good. Better than New York right now.
Yes. Yeah, if you get back to me on that and we can start seeing if there's some, I think there's gonna be some interest in going. And then get some information to Emily, who will be at our next meeting. Public forum number 2. Anyone from the audience want to say anything? No? Board forum, I'll start my right with Frank. Good. Joanne?
Just a couple things. First of all, congratulations, Mr. Jones, on your promotion. Happy for you. Mr. Yaboa, we will miss you here. Thank you for your 2 years here. and
Absolutely.
Hopefully we'll see you back in future years. Finally, Mr. McHugh, it's time to thank you for your years of service to this district, the mark that you're
Absolutely.
leaving on the district, on the students, staff, and parents will remain with us here in East Greenbush forever. Your enthusiasm, your energy, having sat on many of your committees has just fueled so many people, and we owe a lot to you. Thank you so much, and we wish you only the best in your retirement.
Thank you, Joanne. Excellent. Thank you. Appreciate that. Kathleen passed. Jennifer?
Yeah, I would just echo what Joanne said. Best of luck, Mr. Jones, in the new position. Thank you. And thank you to Frank and Jim for your service.
Cheryl? Yeah, I would echo the comments this evening, and Frank, it's been a pleasure having you on the board. Appreciate your input and conversations we had, and respect that you are taking this time to spend more time with your family. And we do hope that you will rejoin us at some future date, run for the board, and be part of this tremendous community and part of this Board of Education to provide that leadership. So thank you again, and our best to your family, and thank them for us for allowing you to be part of this process and this team. We really appreciate them as well. And Mr. McHugh, of course, everything's been said. I'm sure I'll see you down the road in some places that helping out the community and helping out school districts. And because once you're an educator, you never stop being an educator. And whether it's a coach, a leader, all those things, you epitomize the best of what we can provide our kids, and we really appreciate that. So thank you. Thank you very much. I had a conversation with Jeff. I don't think we're going to need an executive session this evening. We can postpone those items unless there's something pressing the board would like to meet about. I think they're doing the happy dance. So with that, anything pressing, Jeff will give an update via email to us. And if there's things for the next meeting, which is not until the reorg on July 5th, which will be at 6 p.m., I can ask for a motion to adjourn. Frank, second. Jennifer, all those in favor? All right. Meeting is adjourned. So I'll ring the gavel this time. Okay. Thank you, everyone. Appreciate it.